Right, hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. For those who have, this is their first time of viewing, what I've been doing is trying to do at least one video a week, unvarnished, no editing, you get what you see. This is really part of my own personal development, whereby I try to practice in front of a camera, because historically I haven't really liked cameras. And I've been doing this every week, I think every week, yeah, pretty much every week since January. The original plan was to do 26 videos. I'm now probably at 26 videos. I was going to do it every few weeks, but I've been trying to get more and more practice putting in the reps. And this is really to follow my personal development journey this year. And hopefully I'll look back on this in 6 months and go, oh, okay, this wasn't so bad. Because these videos are really for me to review myself. If anybody watches them, great. But ultimately, I am my own competition. I am my own audience in this case. But I would say, try it yourself. Try recording yourself over a period of time. Get comfortable with it. Get used to seeing yourself and hearing yourself. It's crazy how you sound and look compared to what's already in your mind. Anyway, so in terms of my personal development journey over the last week or so, it's been okay. I mean, I guess I haven't really been pulling up trees in terms of advances. I've done a few presentations at work, one actually, but also had a couple of client calls and meetings. I've never really been comfortable with that. I'm not really a presentation meeting person, although I have become more comfortable with understanding myself in relation to this. So I went on a presentation course last week, and one of the things that came up in discussion is I feel more comfortable in a social setting in terms of conversing as opposed to a professional setting, because I think I tend to over emphasize the importance of the discussion in a professional setting, but actually feel quite comfortable talking about whatever from a social context. So in a way, I need to bring that version of me to the professional setting. Now obviously I can't be all warts and all and go crazy, but I've got to be able to feel more liberated and more comfortable with the idea of this is a professional setting, but we're all just friends around the table type of thing. So that's something I've kind of learned. So I've learned it before, but I'm now trying to apply that. And in fact, I'm now trying to think like that in terms of these videos. I think if I look back at my first few videos, I was probably fairly rigid, fairly concerned about the recording from a professional perspective, when actually I'm just talking to a phone really now. I shouldn't be worried about that, for one thing, and none of this matters in the bigger scheme of the world. Me talking to a phone, or you talking to an audience, or any of us talking to thousands of people, doesn't really matter. We're just pinpricks on the on the wart of an elephant's arse, or whatever the saying is. I don't know what the saying is. Again, it doesn't matter. The point is, we place too much emphasis on certain things when we need to just relax. And I thought about this with a couple of articles I've written on Medium. I'll put the links to the articles in the description. But one of them was about the idea that we over-emphasize the importance of money and under-emphasize the importance of time. So the focus on money, we all know we need money, and we all know that when we get to a certain amount of money, life gets easier. But at the same time, there's always going to be ways in which to make money. Working extra shifts, trying to earn money online, which I'm trying to do in different guises. Be just getting a new job and so on. So there will always be ways to make more money, but there'll never be ways in which to make more time. We know that we sacrifice a lot of our time to make more money, but sometimes we should be sacrificing more of our money to make more time. So we should be learning how to outsource things, to delegate, to sacrifice, if you will, certain elements of money in order to have more time on the things that matter. Because money in itself is only a tool that is meant to make our lives better, whether that's better for our retirement years, whether it's better for our living environment, so on and so forth. But ultimately, if you don't have time to spend it, if you don't have the right friends, family, peer group to enjoy it with, what's the point of having more money? And I know it's not a binary all or nothing situation, but the focus should be more about how time can enhance our existence as opposed to purely money. And so yeah, this is something I've thought a lot about in terms of the money quandary, because I work in finance. I see people working hard for money. I know personally I could be far more advanced if I really wanted to sacrifice a lot of things, but I don't. And if somebody has more money than me and is more successful, good luck to you, great. But for me, my time with family, time with friends, time just to be me is more important than putting the hours in at the firm. Now, don't get me wrong, I still look at ways in which to make money beyond my work environment, and that's almost, I see that as a different version of personal development, a different way in which to express myself. So I'm not saying I don't want to make more money. I just want to be able to do it on my terms and in a way that allows me to find ways in which to develop more time. So that was my first article, one of the two articles this week that made me think. Now the other one, I'm trying to remember what it was about. You don't have to have it all. Now, the thing about self-development or personal development or personal growth, self-growth, call it what you will, it gets to a point where you need to know enough is enough. I know that I'm very guilty of learning so many modalities and tips and techniques and skills and strategies, so many stuff, and yet not being able to apply it. So I have this habit of taking on board but not filtering. Now that is just a microcosm of life in general, where we all try to have more of everything. And this goal of trying to get more doesn't necessarily get us any closer to peace. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we want. Peace, happiness, satisfaction. And ultimately, a lot of that really comes from stripping things away. I've been going through a declutter when I was doing a detox a few weeks ago. You can find out more about that from previous videos. And I realised I know habitually I'm a hoarder, but when I strip things away, when I bin things, when I realise that things that I've had in my drawer no longer serve me because they're so out of date, they're so irrelevant, the world's moved on, it gives me a certain element of peace. And so I'm learning to remove stuff rather than add stuff. And that's really in general in life. A lot of it aspire to greater heights or to more success in whatever your field of work. You compare yourself to your neighbours in terms of biggest house, shiniest car, blah 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 blah. Actually, sometimes it's just about accepting this is where I am and this is where I want to be. I don't need to reference myself against somebody else because I don't know what's going on in their world. I don't know whether that house was just built through laundering money, or through an inheritance, or through blood, sweat and tears and hurt that no one wants to experience. So sometimes we've just got to learn that enough is indeed enough. And that's it. You don't need to have the perfect life. You don't need to have all your parts of life lined up perfectly in a row, because stuff happens. We're all messy human beings where things just don't go right. I think more of us have to accept that that is the way life is. Yes, we kind of get sucked into the Insta lifestyle of perfection. We all kind of know it's bollocks. Let's face it, we know a lot of it's bollocks, but we still want to see it as something to aspire to, and almost to assume that some people do live that life, but they don't. So yeah, so again, this is all about trying to accept where we are. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having goals or aspiring to stuff, but to be dragged down by missing out on things is kind of missing the point. If you aspire to have a beautiful house and it makes you really unhappy earning the money or living in the house, what's the point? What are you trying to prove to anybody? So yes, so I am trying to become more comfortable with enoughness. And it's tough in many ways to kind of accept that I'll never be Prime Minister. Who will be that? Not a chance. But you know what I mean? Sometimes you just want to, sometimes you've got to accept that you are on the right path to the life that is relevant for you. We can all aspire to things. We can all have goals, nothing wrong with that. But sometimes you just got to go, you know what? I've enjoyed the journey. I didn't reach where I hoped to. That's fine. As long as you enjoy the process, or you get something out of the process, that's great. So no need to beat yourself up about not achieving whatever template milestone that the world says that you should be achieving. Sometimes you just got to accept that enough is indeed enough. That goes for money, and hopefully for time, if you work on that time element. Okay, well, that's me and my philosophizing this week. I will be back on this channel hopefully next week. Again, it all depends on a few things. And as I've said in the past, I will talk more about life as an expat, because I am an expat in a foreign country, which is what expats do, living in Asia. So I have different experiences to a lot of expats, as you can imagine. But that's really all I've got to share at the moment. So have a good week.